ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. Now I know why. Having some tech issues here. Bear with me here for a second, guys. I think I found the problem. I know I didn't. Gonna figure this out. Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, here for the Breakfast Bankroll. Busy show ahead of us today. Breakfast Bankroll, myself and Scott, 11 a.m. Tyler Wyatt bets odds culture, Matt Grissom, and the NCAA insiders. Be doing some work behind the scenes with WagerWire from 1 to 2, and then at 4:30 p.m. set your calendars as the return of Ron Marmolevsky. He's back. We're going to talk some college and NFL. I'm going to pull Scotty up front as I try to figure this out. Having a hard time connecting my headphones wireless to my microphone and my settings. So let's bring Scotty in right now. What's up, Scott?
Good morning, sir. I fell asleep last night watching the baseball game, and then was up till 2:30 in the morning making bets to this football stuff and getting all this stuff ready for us today.
Well, it's kind of funny because I have a lot to say, and I'm more baffled right now on what's going on with my setup. So I'm probably going to bring you front and center to do some breaking down until I can figure this out. The baseball, don't wake the sleeping dog. Seattle does the right thing. Puts up a 2-spot. Life is grand, and the Jays said, hold my beer, and boy, did they wake up in double-digit fashion. That was the Vlad that we knew in the first series against the Yankees. And listen, overnight, Seattle opened up at 141 at the Circa right now, 130. And on paper, Scott, Castillo, a different beast at home versus Mad Max, which hasn't pitched in a while. We have no idea what we're going to get. But listen, I was born at night, not last night. It's a Jays number to me. I would have respected Seattle a lot bigger favorite than I do right now. And I know it's still a must-win for the Jays because that guarantees you're going back home. Doesn't matter what happens in Game 5. I'm going to say it a different way. I think it's a must-win also for Seattle because all of a sudden you're now 2-2, and that Game 5 becomes even more pivotal because you don't want to go back to Toronto down 3-2.
Yeah, I think that if it were to be a case that Toronto wins this game, it's 2-2, and then what they did Seattle did in Toronto gets nullified because now all of a sudden the home teams don't have the advantage anymore. So the home team then would be Toronto going back home. They're guaranteed to go back home. So I think that's correct. Now I would say that I think where the line is if you look at what Castillo's results are and numbers are against Toronto, especially this year, they've been bad. Like that, Toronto's beat it up. So I think there's a little bit of play in that, and people go into that and they dive in. But I would tell you that Kirby was a little bit new to a playoff role yesterday and didn't pitch his best, and he got rocked. And Bieber's been around the block. He's not a great pitcher in the playoffs, and he gave up two right away. But Toronto came right out and beat up Bieber in I think it was the second or third inning. So the way I see this is that Scherzer is not obviously the Max Scherzer when he was with the Nationals. But at the same time, he's still a veteran pitcher. He's been around the block. He knows how to pitch these games. I think that he'll be as competitive as he can be. But at the same time that I say that, I don't think his stuff is as good as it used to be. So I think that we're going to run into a problem here of Toronto not getting it done. So I think it's going to be hard for Toronto to match up the output-wise yesterday. I would be extremely surprised if they were able to go out and score another runs and do a lot of stuff against Castillo. So I still think Seattle's in the top seed here. I think they probably pull out this one, and then tomorrow or whenever the next game is. I don't know if it's tomorrow or if it's the next day, but I think you'll run into, hey, this is now a must-win for Toronto just to get back home. And there's 3 games left, and Seattle only has to win one of the 3. So I think that puts them in a great spot if they were to win today.
Well, I'm going to put up the in-pocket plays right now. I know there's an NFL game. We'll circle back to it. I promise. I'm going to put up the in-pocket plays, and then I'm going to pull you front and center and see if I can figure this out. Give me a second here. In-pocket plays this week for Scotty. Pitt minus 10.5. Texas A&M minus 7.5. Washington Huskies plus 6. Alabama minus, I think he messed this up here, minus 8. Notre Dame minus 9.5. So we got that up there twice. There was a fat finger thumb there. So I'm going to allow you to go through some of this verbally while I work on some stuff back here. And then I'll go to game on paper and we'll break a couple games down. Okay, sir?
Yeah, no problem. Let me move my stuff around just a little bit. I want to get to that Pittsburgh game. And kind of go over that. So that game goes at, what time is that game? Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a 7:30 game. They play at Syracuse. Pull this up over here for a second. There we go. So what I'm looking at with the Pittsburgh game is there's the big news in Pittsburgh is there's a quarterback change, and once the quarterback change happened, they played Boston College. They scored 42 points against Boston College, and then they went down to Florida State. They were underdogs of I think 9.5 points, something like that. I don't think it got to 10, maybe it did. And then they played Florida State in Florida State and outright beat Florida State. So since the quarterback change has happened, this team, and they scored 34 points in that game. So the issue with them is that they were having some difficulty with the quarterback spot. They changed quarterbacks. They've scored 42 and 34 points. One, Florida State's got a good defense, so against a good defense. So I think this is a team that has shown that they can now play offense, and their defense with where they stand ranks EPA per drive, they rank 38th out of obviously 135 schools, 134 schools, 132 schools, whatever it is now. And that's that's top tier on defense. Now I mean it's not elite, but it's top tier, and they're going to face Syracuse, and Syracuse, their quarterback, since he got hurt, has an offense that really struggles, and the biggest thing that they do, their passing offense ranks 117th, and their rushing offense ranks 68th. 68th. So as it kind of turns out, they have a below average offense. They don't score a lot of points. They run the ball much better than they do throwing the ball. But even when they run the ball, they only run the ball at an average clip. So that's going to be a pretty difficult task for them to ask to go against this Pitt defense. Then when you flip it over, defensively for Syracuse, EPA per drive, they rank 116 out of those 130 schools. So it's not very good on defense. And we just talked about how that team from Pittsburgh is now explosive on offense. I'm expecting Pittsburgh to go out there and just sort of dominate this game, to be honest. As it comes out, when you start to look at it, Pittsburgh, they've got a revitalized offense. They also have a great success rate, or a decent success rate. It exposes the defense, especially the pass defense, which is a glaring weakness for Pittsburgh. And then, Pittsburgh's offense is relatively balanced. They can run the football as well as throw the football. So that puts Syracuse in a problem. Now, Syracuse's offense is pretty stagnant. They're going to struggle against this defense, especially, and the other problem that you run into with Syracuse is they turn the damn ball over. Hey, PB, thank you for the repost. We much appreciate it, man. Look, guys, we say this a lot, but, we're trying to grow this channel, and, we're getting a couple hundred views every show. But to get to 1,000, this is a word of mouth thing, and PB doing this and helping us grow like that. That's great. So thumbs up. Love it. Questions, guys, want me to break down a game? Any of that stuff. I'll do any of those things for you. But as we look at this game, I think that, you run into a big problem with where does Syracuse stop them? Even on third down, the success rate for Pittsburgh is very clear. It's being able to sustain drives and move the change. They also are in a spot where on net field position, they have an advantage. So that means that they get their drives deeper into the other territory. If they have to punt, then the other team, they don't get the ball out. So, they don't have to go as far. And if they don't have to go as far and they have the superior offense, it's going to be much more difficult for Syracuse to sustain anything. So as this kind of comes down at it, and the kind of model came out and said Pittsburgh 34-17, I agree with that. And that's why I chose Pittsburgh in this spot. So that's one of my better plays of the week is Pittsburgh. I think that's a good position for them. And I don't think Syracuse is really a whole lot of competition at this point in this particular matchup. So that's game number one. Game number two, where'd my list go? There we go. I want to go to what do I have right here that's convenient that I can find real fast. How these things go. I probably have about 15 to 20 games that I've kind of run a model for and got scores for and different things for. Then chose, the top 5 or 6 that I wanted to bet. So some of these games, I'm going to have that, I didn't do a whole lot. So here's the Washington analysis of the matchup against Michigan. So That game, let's find that game for a second on Games on Paper. And we'll go over to that game, which is down here. What time does that game go? Michigan and Washington. That game is a noon game. So go to the noon time tables. Michigan, Washington. Okay, so here we go. So this one's a little more competitive in terms of numbers, right? So, a lot of times you can find certain advantages there where, like we just did with Pittsburgh, they're pretty dominant on offense against the Syracuse defense. And then Syracuse is going to struggle a little bit moving the football. So plus they're turnover prone and all the other stuff we just talked about with field position and everything. It makes it pretty rough on Syracuse. These two teams are way more competitive when it comes to that. You have a team in Washington, the EPA per play, they rank 7th, plus 0.32. And EPA per play for Michigan, they rank 33rd. They're plus 18, 0.18. So that gives a slight edge here in terms of, offense, defense, total package, plays to Washington. Now, having said that, you got to look at a couple of factors here. Yards per play, then the gap narrows a little bit, but not a ton. 2.1 yards per play advantage, which ranks 10th ranks 16th for Washington, and then yards per play is 1.81, which ranks 20th or 22nd. So very close in terms of where those two rank out. But available yards, so the yards that Washington attains are the yards that have been available for the most part, to the degree in which they rank 21st. They get the plus 19%, and Michigan is 47th. So what does that tell you? That tells you that Michigan is a little less efficient. They're and explosive. They're a little less efficient, a little less explosive than what Washington is at obtaining all the yards they're supposed to gain. And then in success rate, Washington ranks 10th and Michigan ranks 35th. So that means Washington's good at moving the chains and stopping other opponents from getting there. So I think what you run into here, and this is just kind of what your eyes tell you when you watch Michigan play, Michigan's got a good defense. I don't think their defense is as strong as it has been, especially in the year that they won the championship. But it's a good defense. But Washington has a good defense too. But Washington has an elite offense, and Michigan's still trying to find their way on offense. They're better than they were last year in terms that their quarterback at least can throw the ball a little bit. He's a true freshman, so he's learning his way and theoretically supposed to be getting better and better. His QBR is, I think, 37, 38, something like that. But the QBR rating for the quarterback for Washington is undeniable. He's number 2. The number 2 QBR quarterback in all of football. He is explosive and doing all kinds of things for that team. So there's a difference factor there. So I think that when you start to look at this and you start breaking it down and you go, well, Michigan's at home, Washington has to fly all the way back out there. I get it. There's and that factors in. The number is 6. It's -6 for Michigan. Washington's already played Ohio State. They've been on the road where they had to come back and beat Maryland. And to be honest with you, Maryland's defense is as good, if not better, than Michigan's defense. So I think that when you start to think about what's going on and where they've played some pretty tough defenses, they've been in that fire, so they know that's in store for them. And you just saw what Michigan did against USC. I get it; it was on the road, but so these home games for Michigan are important for them. But when I start to look at it and break it down, you've got an offense that faces a solid defense But Michigan's pass defense and rush defense are sturdy, but Washington's fifth-ranked quarterback and 50th percentage success rate can exploit the gaps in where you have elite to just good defense. So I think that you're going to see that in this game. I think you're going to see those exploits happen. And then when you look at the offensive side, I think that you can see kind of two average teams, right? You're going to have an average offense in Michigan and maybe a little above average offense, a defense in Wisconsin, or not Washington. But where Michigan wants to go is they want to run the football. They're 24th in rush offense, but Washington is 23rd in rush defense. Where Washington struggles is pass defense. And, you're going to see, if you're going to ask Michigan to win a game passing the football, good luck. So I think that that's where this game kind of comes down. I think there's also a small edge here with third down success for Washington. Obviously, the net EPA per drive is going to favor Washington. The field position slightly, especially with home field advantage, slightly favors Michigan in this spot. So I think what you're going to see is, context is Washington is tougher yards per point margin. They're going to match up good here. Turnover margins are very similar. They when they played Maryland, they were behind in the fourth quarter, had to score a bunch of points to come back to win that game. Talking about Washington, and they did on the road, so that shows a little resilience, shows some efficiency in their offense, and shows, when they have to, they can get down to it and make it happen. And remember, that's against a pretty tough team. So I think that you have capable offenses in these spots. I think the elite offense of what Washington provides gives them an evaluation standpoint that says, can they win this game? Maybe. I think they can outright win this game, possibly. But if you're going to get 6 points, I think that's the right side. The model comes out and basically comes in and comes up and says, hey, this game is going to be like 23-20, 24-20, with Michigan winning. But I think that you have the capability of having a Washington win here too. So I think they're a live dog. I think they're a live spot. So that's one spot I think as a dog I think is a good spot. So I bet Washington plus the 6. I think there's another dog spot that I didn't give Jeff in the overnight, and I think that's UConn. I think UConn plus 1.5. It used to be 2.5. It doesn't really much matter. Play them on the money line if you want to, but it doesn't hurt to get a point because they're on the road against BC. Look, and the way that game breaks down. By the way, and let me go find it real fast. UConn and BC. Now, the big thing that you got to adjust for in this game is Boston College has played a much tougher schedule. Not a great schedule, but a much tougher schedule. They have played the 62nd toughest schedule, and UConn only 130. Now, UConn's very dominant in terms of data points. So when you look at data points, they have a offense that's 13th passing, 32nd rushing, and they're facing a defense that's 116th passing and 83rd against the run. So theoretically, if you just took those numbers and said, hey, there's a dominant edge here. Why are they the underdog? Well, if they're 130th schedule out of 135 schools or whatever, you got to really discredit a lot of that based off of what they've played, what their opponent's strength is. So you take off for that. The strength of schedule adjustment is important, especially in college football. But on the other side, you go, hey, what's BC good at? Well, they're 53rd in passing, but the defense for UConn is 48th in passing. So that's a good matchup for UConn. And then the running for BC, they rank 127th. So they don't run the football. Now UConn really doesn't stop the run, but they don't run the football. So you have whatever that UConn doesn't do well, Boston College doesn't do well on offense. You have an offense in UConn that does do well. Their quarterback QBR rating is much better than Boston College's. When you talk about net field position, it's a huge edge for UConn. Now, part of that, again, is because of strength of schedule and where they are. But this is one of those live dog situations that when you kind of break this down and you start looking at it, you can go. UConn holds a pretty marginal advantage when it comes to third down success. A huge edge for where they are on net field position. The net EPA per drive is going to be still an advantage for UConn, even after you take off the scheduling deficiencies that they're having. And I think that they can win the game outright. The model says 27-24 UConn to win. So that's another game that's not on there that I think is very bettable as an underdog. So I think that's good. I'll just keep going until Jeff jumps back in here. But so there's two breakdowns or three, and let's do this Texas A&M game because it's kind of a weird spot when they're -7.5. Let me go back here and find my notes on that game, and then we can do the other ones towards the end there. Because there's a lot of fun games this week, or at least I thought there were fun games this week. Let me go back to where is that? That's Missouri Auburn. That's the Purdue game. There was the Michigan game. Here's Texas A&M and Arkansas. So let me go to that game over here. So I have the stuff in front of me. And what time does that game start? Texas A&M goes at 3:30. So let me go find that over here. 3:30, Texas A&M and Arkansas. Okay, so first thing to note, Arkansas is -7.5. So what does that mean? Well, key number 7, the number 7.5, been 7.5 all week, hasn't come below that, meaning that people aren't taking the 7.5. So that's the first thing you got to kind of take note of. Second, you're looking at a team, both of them, that have played some pretty tough schedules. Texas A&M ranks 4th in strength of schedule, and Arkansas 13th. Yards per play margin, though, is where you got a big difference. Texas A&M 53rd and Arkansas 92. And again, turnover margin, which is important. Arkansas is -1.4, and Texas A&M is +0.2. Now, keep in mind that number is per game. So if Arkansas is -1.5 turnovers per game, that's a big disadvantage to them and a big advantage to Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is going to show here that they are the better team. Texas A&M right now, they're 6-0. EPA per play is 21st. And when you start to look at Arkansas, theirs is 45th success rate. Texas A&M is 15. Available yards, they're 17. Arkansas is only 52. Now, remember, Arkansas is a very bad defense, But as they are a very bad defense, they do have a great quarterback and a good offense. So, interesting matchup here. Yards per play is an advantage to Texas A&M. So here's how this works. Texas A&M on offense, their EPA per drive is 50.059, ranked 45th, but they're going against the 125th ranked defense, 125th. And they actually add to that. They don't take away. On defense, you want minus EPA, and they don't have minus EPA, which obviously 125th, they probably shouldn't have. So that's not good for them. It's actually very bad for them. So they can't stop a nosebleed is basically what I'm saying. EPA per play pass offense for Texas A&M, they rank 25th against the 120th defense and 67th on rushing against the 120th. Available yards is 54th versus 109. Early downs EPA, they rank 132 on defense. On first down, it's going to be important because they can't stop them. Texas A&M is going to have short second and third downs for the whole game. And then, you look at their success rate and you can see it. That field position is an advantage to Texas A&M. And then when offensively, when they have the ball, they pass the ball, they rank 18th. They run the ball, they rank 3rd. But they're going to go against the 23rd and 36th ranked defense. So I think what that means basically is that Texas A&M is going to put up a pretty stubborn defense against Arkansas's offense. So Arkansas is going to run into a few roadblocks. And I don't think that Texas A&M is going to run into any. They're just, if they get the ball 10 times or 12 times, out of those 12 times, they're going to score 8. They're going to score 9, whether they be field goals, touchdowns, whatever. They're going to score. And, they don't have to cover double digits. We're only asking them to cover 7.5. I think that puts that in a big problem, big problem for Arkansas. Model comes out and it says 34-20 Texas A&M. I agree with that. It could score more. It just depends on ball control and how much time they have, to hold on to it. So I think Texas A&M is a good side. I think Texas A&M is the right side. So I bet Texas A&M in that game. And then there's a couple other ones here that I thought, I wasn't going to be on, but, stuff happens and you look at stuff and you sit there and go, holy crap. So we can go to the Alabama game and let me get to it. Here we go. Alabama. Alabama and Tennessee. Now remember, Tennessee, they played Georgia pretty tough. And this is a game at Alabama. And you've got this number at 8.5. And why am I on Alabama? Well, let's look at it this way. So Alabama's strength of schedule is 3rd. Tennessee is 53rd. Alabama's played good teams. Yards per point rank margin is Alabama's 22nd and Tennessee's 53rd. Turnover margin, Alabama's plus 1.7, Tennessee's plus 0.06. So I think that you run into some ancillary stuff really helps Alabama. Doesn't necessarily hurt Tennessee, but helps Alabama. And then when you kind of start looking at where they go, Tennessee's offense, which is plus 0.22 on offense, EPA per play. They're facing a defense that's negative 0.5. So that ranks 42 and 9, right? So you got a good offense against a good defense, kind of an elite offense against a good defense. Well, you've seen that with Georgia, right? So then you look at Alabama's offense. They rank 7th. And Tennessee's defense, I don't know if you knew this or not, Tennessee's defense ranks 98th out of 130 schools. So there's not much resistance there. So again, you're going to run into that same kind of problem you had with Texas A&M and Arkansas. Alabama can move the ball, and now this quarterback's got Simpson. He's got some legs under him. He's been under the he doesn't have that first game jitters like he did at Florida State. The team's playing much better. So they have significant advantages there. You've got a number 7 pass offense against a 98 defense, and they run the ball at 77th and a 98 for defense for Tennessee. So I think you run into a offense that ranks 8th in EPA per drive against a defense that's 113. The difference is Tennessee's offense, which ranks 11th, runs into Alabama's defense that ranks 45th. Much bigger resistance. It's a home game, not like when Georgia had to go play in Tennessee. This is Tennessee having to play at Alabama. So I like Alabama here. I think Alabama's got the right side as the key metrics and stuff as it sort of breaks down. You have a superior possession efficiency for Alabama. Alabama's got clear edges and sustaining drives. Their third down success is great. Net field position is about the same, but when you have the home field edge, maybe that sort of slightly favors Alabama. So some of that kind of goes into that. And then I think that you run into this is 34-24 as the model came out. And you've got home field dominance. You've got a quarterback play and turnover edge. I think gives them a double-digit win here. So I like Alabama in this spot. So again, that's where I went. I bet on Alabama. And then the next one that I kind of wanted to go over, which is on the in-pocket plays that I have, and I didn't think I was going to be on this one either. This is going to be the Notre Dame USC game. Let me go get it pulled up over here. And in this Notre Dame USC game, let me go get it real quick. There we go. My notes, here we go, and say, all right. So strength of schedule, Notre Dame is number 2. USC is 39. Yards per point rank, Notre Dame is 14. USC is 23. USC has the number 1 ranked quarterback in QBR, so he's really good. But Notre Dame has the number 11. Turnover margin's about the same. So why is this such a big spread? You would think that this might be a little more, and especially off of what USC did against Michigan, right? So this game opened at 8.5. It's now 9.5. I wanted to get in on it before maybe that it hit 10, because I think 10, people are going to buy back on the other side. So what you run into here when you're looking at it is EPA per play. USC is number 1, and Notre Dame is number 34. Success rate, USC is number 9. Available yards, they're 13th. Yards per play, they're 3rd. And Notre Dame is, top 20, top 30 in those categories. So USC actually shows like they might be the better side. So what you run into is the offense is obviously number 1 in EPA against Notre Dame's defense, and then the Notre Dame offense is number 25 going against the defense for USC. You have a deficiency there where the USC defense is slightly behind what Notre Dame's defense is. So you have elite defense going against good elite offenses going against average defenses, kind of but Notre Dame's defense is a little better. And where there's a significant difference, both of these teams play defense against the pass halfway decent. And we'll have to see kind of how it matches up on running the football. But I expect Notre Dame, especially how they've played the last couple of games, their defense is playing much better. I expect them to do well here. And where this game kind of comes into issue is Notre Dame kind of predicted to hit 31 points, USC 20 points. And where that comes down is Notre Dame's elite defense with success rate and turnover margin can contain USC's offense, whereas the USC's average defense, only 43% success rate, gets attacked by a balanced offense from Notre Dame, and I think it gets exploited. So I think that's the difference in the game. The difference in the game is USC's defense just isn't quite up to snuff yet to be able to win these kind of games on the road. Maybe they can win them at home. Michigan's offense wasn't going to provide much of a threat to them, and this is going to be one of those games where Notre Dame's offense. Hey, welcome back, Jeff.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I still can't get it connected, and I need it for later today. You know how I am when it comes to the tech stuff. Thank you so much for running with this. Kind of surprised that game opened up 10-10.5 to me, looking for USC money. They did get that early as that line has shifted. Notre Dame keeps on rolling. They are a different offense at home. It shows 8.5 now to 9.5. That line opened up at 10.5, guys. Trust me on that. It didn't open up at 8.5, and Notre Dame's getting money. That line opened at 10.5, and actually USC is the one that got some money there as well. Alabama, Tennessee, as you talked about. VOLS getting a little money. That number opened up high as well. It's sitting at a flat 8 there. Again, I'm a little all over the place here. You ran down the plays. Again, Scotty's in pocket plays as we speak. Pitt minus 10.5, A&M minus 7.5, Washington plus 6, Alabama minus 8, and Notre Dame minus 9. What do we have Notre Dame at? Minus 9 and a hook. You talked earlier about the bases. Dodgers back home today. Interesting matchup there, Scotty. This team is a different team also at home. I think everyone expected Seattle to be up 3-0, and now the Dodgers. They're posting glass now here. I don't know if Milwaukee will be a bullpen game, or I don't know. Raleigh fingers ain't walking through that door. I could list a mile long for them there. Any thoughts? I mean, you said you like Seattle in a bounce back spot here as the Jays are tracking money here. Brewers have a pulse, or is this Dodgers up 3-0?
I think that it's very difficult to go against the Dodgers starting pitching right now. I mean, you just can't. We've seen, Snell and Yamamoto complete game. Snell went 8 innings. These guys are dominating on the mound. Glass now can do the same thing. I'm not saying he will, but he can. He has that kind of electric stuff. And then, okay, we throw Shohei, and, he still goes out there and throws 100 miles an hour and see what he can do. So I think this is one of these spots where, it doesn't matter what offense you put against those pitchers. If you can't hit these starting pitchers, I don't think that you're going to win any of these games. So you don't have the firepower from starting pitching opposing them. So there's a significant edge there. There is no American League pitcher on any of these teams that are remaining that match up to anybody like Snell or Yamamoto or Glass now. None of it. And Milwaukee certainly doesn't have it either. So I think this is going down as a sweep here. I don't think there's a pulse going to happen. It would be one of these interesting things where if there was a pitcher that could provide hope, for Milwaukee, Mizrachi or whatever his name is, goes out there and throws 105 miles an hour and has a great day or something. Maybe that provides a little spark and a little hope. But I don't think that's the way this is going to go out. I don't think they have the firepower to match. And because of that, I think that you run into, hey, this is a bad spot. And, the Dodgers are good. And, all season long, Bell didn't pitch like this. Yamamoto was off and on, and these guys are on their A game right now. When those pitchers are on their A game like that, they're as dominant as there has been in the history of the game. not just right now. I mean, you can go back and look. Guys don't do this. So and then you look at their offense. They can score 10 runs at any point. So I think you're going to see. I don't want to call it a cakewalk because that's unfair to the Brewers, but I don't think the Brewers stand much chance.
We'll be back tomorrow at around 9:15 a.m. We'll break down the NFL game. We'll talk some more college again. We'll talk about the in-pocket plays and stuff. I'll be back here in about an hour and 15 minutes with Tyler Wyatt and Matt Grissom. We'll be back at 4:30 with the return of Ron Marmoleski. Shout out to PB. Thank you guys so much. That's what we're looking for, the love and support to keep us going here as well. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB, we wish everyone a blessed day. Enjoy yourself. Stay in your lanes. There's plenty of action as we got MLB, NFL, NCAAF, NHL, you name it, we got it. Stay tuned.